If you're building Power Apps right now and you have to test your Power App, even before you hand it to a testing team, here's something you absolutely have to try. Grab yourself an account with Cursor.ai. Load up the Cursor desktop interface. It looks like this. There's a new capability that's just been launched to automate and control your browser. It is stunning for doing simple end user testing on Power Apps. Let me show you how that works. You load up Cursor and you'll see a screen like this. You have a folder on your desktop, wherever you store them, which just contains your files. First thing you want to do is make sure you've got the latest version of Cursor, and you'll notice in this chat window here in Cursor, I've got a browser capability. Just click that first of all. It goes blue to make sure that it is now enabled. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move this out of the way. If I switch to my Power App screen, you'll see I've got a really simple demo Power App. I've used this in another demo before about role-based access. I might want to just quickly test that, make sure that I've got a bunch of scenarios that prove that whenever I make changes to this app, it stays absolutely working and fine. Now, typically, I might have either had to write those down in a spreadsheet and execute them manually, or maybe use Power Automate Desktop, maybe use the Power App Test Suite. Neither of those options are particularly good. This new option with Cursor is stunning. First of all, just grab the URL that navigates to that Power App. We're going to use that in Cursor. Pop over to Cursor and tell it to navigate to that location. With the new browser feature enabled, Cursor can not only get to websites but can also act on browsers and browser tabs that are open, and we're going to get it to perform some tasks for us. But the great thing is we can talk to it in its Cursor window here, and we can communicate about what's on screen. So it's already seen that's an RBAC demo. I'm logged in. You may have to log in as it does this process. It will pop up a Google browser most likely, or it will pop up the nearest it can find in your desktop to that browser. So let's ask it for a brief description first. You'll see here it captures snapshots, and that's what it uses to understand what's on screen with you. So it can see my demo, my gallery list, it's got some data that it's already understood, and it can see what's on screen. You can see that here if I just click around and show you what's in this demo. There's a very simple set of data. I've got a search window up here. Now here's the magic. I'm going to get it to describe what it sees on screen, create me a set of scenarios that should test, broadly speaking, what's on that screen, and go through those tests for me. So what I've asked there is to use end user testing. If I was trained as an end user tester, there's certain things I would do, and use BDD. So we'll start off with a scenario like, as an end user, I want to see all my items on screen so that I can understand what training I've got, but then go through some scenarios, so the given, when, then language that we use in testing, to just lay out the sorts of things that an end user tester would perform on that app. And I want the Cursor to go through what it sees on screen and generate a file, a markdown language file, and it's going to store that file for me in the left-hand pane over here. And this is where the beauty of Cursor comes in, that we can interact with documents on the fly, creating things, updating them, but now we can use those to drive behaviors that we're going to actually execute on the browser. So let's first of all let it do its test scenarios. We've got those here. Let's just keep it all. And you'll see here, pretty straightforward. Given I'm logged in, I will launch the demo. I want to see the courses screen. I should see a list of available courses. Great, fantastic. So what I'm now going to get it to do is I'm going to move this to a different window so you can see it happening. I'm going to get it to execute these and give me a pass-fail score, just so I get an understanding. Now, I would never just do this in the speed at which I've just taken it out. I'd always check the scenarios, but you've already seen, huge shortcut. It's really taken a lot of the effort and energy out of thinking, what is it I'm testing? How am I testing it? What's the language I need to use? What's the structure I need to use? So we've got a real good foundation to start. To this point about AI replacing jobs, I would suggest here it's amplified my ability to test things quickly, check for problems, solve problems, so I can do more of the good work that I'm employed to do. So let's give this a whirl. So you can see there I've just typed a brief explanation of what I'd like it to do. I'm just going to test the first 10 scenarios for speed. I want to get red or green visual indicators, and I want to score at the end along with some summary of what it finds. So let's move this out the way, and I'm going to press enter on that prompt and get it to run. So again, what you can't see and I can see is it's captured a screenshot to understand where it's at, and it's going to start executing the test now. I'll just move this so you can see it happening. Maybe you can see it over here. So you can see on screen there, even though I'm acting with my cursor interface here, the browser is unaffected, so I can go on and do other work whilst it's going through these steps. And at each step, I'll just move this up here, you can see it's navigated to course 2. It's going to go, I don't know what it's going to do now. Okay, so it's doing a search. I'm not interacting with that browser, it's just doing that job. Looking for courses, finding the right course. It'll now probably go and find or search for a course that doesn't exist. And it'll continue doing this for the 10 scenarios that I've created. Now again, just to reiterate, what I'm not saying here is this is a replacement for good quality test execution and test automation. But within 5 minutes, I've been able to launch an app, create some scenario scripts, validate those scripts with my eyes to see whether they look sensible, but then execute them as well and get a small test report out. If you're a one-man band or a small team, or you're limited on resource, or you want to do different work than just creating end-user tests, Cursor is a fantastic tool. Now you can do this with the hobby version of Cursor. You don't have to pay. It will give you a certain amount of capability and a certain amount of use of the AI engine that's behind it. If you want to ramp it up, you're going to want to pay the $20 or the $60 or the $200 if you're using this in a business context. But believe me, this has blown my mind now that it can execute the tests on screen, and it's trying to save a form there. It can't save a form for some reason. Whilst I'm doing this conversation, you can see it working and I'm recording with you. So I hope that's useful. Let me know if you give it a go. Pop a comment in the pop something in the comments if you give it a go, and I'll catch you in the next one.